Good morning. Welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about triangles and we're going to classify them by their angles. Remember now, before the video starts too far in and we get into the lesson, have your notebook out and be taking some notes, actually draw some of the shapes, solve the problems as we go through them. That way when you go out to Yakapaka, you'll be in good shape to go ahead and solve most of the questions. Hopefully, again, set that goal for 80%, but if you can do better than that, outstanding. Okay, let's talk about triangles. Triangle, well, TRI, it means three, like in triple or triad. So a triangle is a shape that's made up of three lines, and it also going to have three angles. Now, the very first thing we're going to have to figure out before we can solve any type of problems about triangles is how many angles, how many degrees are in a triangle. Well, before we figure that out, let's go look at a rectangle or a square. If we see a rectangle or square, they have 90-degree angles, and there's four of them. So in a rectangle or a square, we're going to have 360 degrees. So if we went ahead and drew a line, a diagonal, across that rectangle, we'd be cutting it in half, or be dividing by two, and we'd have two triangles with a total of 180 degrees inside of them. 180 plus 180 makes 360. So a triangle is going to have 180 degrees. If we put two triangles together, two right triangles together, we are going to have a 360-degree rectangle. You can see it right here in a drawing. Now, when we want to add up angle measurements for a triangle, and one might be missing, all we're going to do is add up the two given numbers and take that total, and we're going to do 180 and subtract that total. So if I had two angles and one was a 50 and the other one was a 50, I'd add them up and I'd get 100. And we know there's 180 degrees in a triangle, so 180 subtract 100 leaves a final angle of 50 degrees. So let's now go ahead and do some work and try to solve some finding the angles in some triangles. And also we're going to describe some of the triangles based on the angles that we do see. So let's take a quick look at that. Well, here we go. If you look at this top triangle, we can see that little square box in the lower left corner. Right away we know that's 90 degrees. This is a right triangle. In a right triangle, and you have to understand this for a definition, one angle is 90 degrees. So look for that little square box because that's going to help you. The other angles, by the way, are going to be acute. And if you add them up, they're going to equal 180. But again, if I leave that box there for you, you know I'm saying 90 degrees is in that corner. The next type of triangle we have is an equilateral. Well, equal. All three angles are the same. They're all equal. So if we have 180 degrees in a triangle and we have three angles, 3 into 180 is, each angle is 60 degrees. It's an equilateral triangle. Also, the side segments are also going to be equal in length. And the final triangle we're going to have based on angles is the obtuse triangle. Well, there's your name. It's an obtuse triangle because there'll be one obtuse angle and there'll be two acute angles. And remember, obtuse is larger than 90, less than 180. So let's go ahead and try now to actually solve some problems. And here we've got a couple of triangles. Now let me get my pen working here. Hopefully I'm going to select this in white. And we're looking at this very first triangle. And we take a notice and we can see we have the three angles and they have marks on them. Well, that means they're all the same. Well, we just did that before. We said 180 divided by 3. That's going to give us, each angle is going to be 60 degrees. The little degree symbol. So each of these angles is 60 degrees, and 60 times 3 is the 180 that we were talking about. So we have the equilateral triangle right there. I'm just going to abbreviate it. They're equal, equilateral. Well, now let's look at the second triangle. They've given us a measurement of 40, but I need to have two known numbers to be able to find this missing third angle that's up here. Well, I'm looking down here and I see that right angle symbol, that square box symbol. So I know that's 90. So if I add those up, I have 130. And to find the missing angle, we're going to say 180 subtract 130, and that missing angle is 50 degrees. Well, 50 plus 130 equals 180. So these two, when I add them up, these totals, they do equal 180 degrees, so we know we did it correct. Okay, here comes our obtuse. Now, just in case you're having a little bit of trouble here, let's go and look at right here where I'm moving the pen. That angle says it's 115. This acute angle, by the way, that's the obtuse angle right there. This acute angle says 50. Well, I'm trying to find that missing angle. So I'm going to add these two up. 1 plus 5 is 6. Bring down the 1. I have 165 degrees. Again, we know all triangles have 180. I'm going to subtract the 165 we just added up. And that third acute angle, after I subtract here, is going to be 15 degrees. So this would be a 15-degree acute angle at this part of the triangle. And that's everything we really have to do to solve for missing angle measurements with triangles. And again, just a reminder, we can look at the triangles and also figure out their names based on the angles that are inside the triangle. And then the first, again, the top one, we see that little squared box, so we know that's a 90. That's a right triangle. Your equilateral, all three angles are the same. And your obtuse. You have one obtuse angle and two acutes, and we can find out what the measurements are if given two of the angles. So again, go out to Yakapaka, do the practice problem, set a goal of 80. Again, always encouraging you to try to do better than the 80.